we're back for week 14 of the 2024 NFL season, coming off a rough 1-3-1 week. Some embarrassing and regretful picks.
Oh, awful.
That, it's amazing. You say to yourself, or in this case, say it to each other, that we're not going to bet on bad teams. And then we go out and choose the Tennessee Titans and Chicago Bears as our top 5. So shame on us.
Pretty bad.
Not to do it, and we did it anyway.
Pretty bad, yeah. Tennessee at home against Jacksonville with Mac Jones. I mean, I don't understand, how they're really just not a good football team. I mean, you can't trust Tennessee, anything about them. Ironically, I saw a sex tape with Will Levis in it this weekend that someone had.
What?
Yeah, it leaked, and I saw it, and you know what?
Is it real?
Yeah, I mean, he has a career in porn, and it's going to probably come a lot quicker because he can't throw the ball. But the minute I saw him last 4 seconds, I should have just called you and said, we need to take Jacksonville. But that's neither here nor there. They're just not a good football team. But you're right. We said we weren't going to bet bad teams. I really, really, really liked the Bears last week. I thought you get the dead cat bounce off the firing of the coach. They had 2 yards of offense in the first half. I couldn't have been more wrong about a game. I thought San Fran was done, injured, banged up. Trent Williams, no. McCaffrey, no. Season spiraling out of control. Complete misread by me. That was on me 100%. I apologize for that one. I was dead wrong there. And then we got clipped.
You had so much conviction on it, and
I did. I really thought San Fran was done.
In hindsight,
I was wrong.
Yeah. In hindsight, look, they were obviously the pick. And we had to basically give them a pass on, the way that they played the previous 2 weeks. And also the fact that apparently like Kittle had this big speech, in a players only meeting, and they weren't out of it. And I mean, it's such a classic, spot for a team coming home after 2 horrible losses and bad weather, like a good weather team. And
listen,
their season was on the line.
It was a must-win game. Listen, they have to win out. So, I mean, not only was their season on the line, their season's on the line every game going forward, including tonight. If they don't beat the Rams tonight, they're done. So,
but I also had another thought. I don't know if you agree with this, but you're going to laugh. That Eberflus is a good coach.
No, absolutely not.
Well, explain how they were competitive in 3 straight games in the best division in football, and then he leaves with the whole country anticipating dead coach bounce.
Yeah,
and they have their single worst performance of the year.
Right. Yeah, because it was overwhelming for the guy who stepped into the shoes. He's not ready to do it. But let me remind you of the last 31 seconds of the Thanksgiving night game, or whatever the fuck that was. That ripped my heart out. That moron deserved to be fired. And that stupid press conference after, where he said, "Oh, we did everything right. You did everything right. You're fired." I don't want to talk about that guy.
You were beside yourself on Thanksgiving, unfortunately, for that.
Dude,
because of that.
You don't understand what that did to me. I mean, that game has to go into overtime. I hit the over. I had a chance to hit the money line. It would have been a game changer for me. The fact that they didn't kick that field goal. And listen, the kid's, he's a young quarterback, right? They're on the 25 first down. Can't take a sack. What does he do? Takes a 17-yard sack. Moron. But the minute he takes a sack, the coach has to run over and immediately call timeout with 31 seconds left. That's it. Call timeout, get your quarterback over, say, "Listen, you can't fucking take a sack there, dummy. I know you did it, but now we have 2 plays. We're going to get it. We're going to get it. Run a quick out here. We're going to get 5 or 6 yards. We're going to kick the field goal to overtime." That's what you have to do.
What percentage of your family was witness to that tirade that you had during that game?
Only people with a penis. No, none. Thank God. Thank God there were no women around.
Oh God. All right, let's jump into this week's card.
Let's do it, buddy. Good game tonight, right?
We're 34-35-1 on the season.
Just under 500, man. It's been rough for us. We're not, we're not doing well. We're not doing well this year.
Well, there's still time. We got 4 weeks left, 14, 15, 16, 17, or 5 weeks.
I think it's 5, but we have a skip week.
Right. But we're still going to pick 5 every week because that's our, it's our record.
Totally right.
Let's kick things off with tonight's game.
Yeah.
We have the LA Rams visiting the aforementioned 49ers, getting 2.5 on the road. The question is, did San Francisco turn their season around? So a couple things on the injury side. Let's just call out that Trent Williams is out.
Yep.
McCaffrey's obviously out, and Garendo is questionable. So
yeah, he's got a foot sprain.
So I don't know what the story is there. But
he's a game time decision. He has a foot sprain in the fourth quarter. If they don't go with him, they're going with a fourth string running back to start.
Yeah, and then look, I know Shanahan's like really cagey about all injury stuff. He always has been, but Bosa is the other big question mark, and it looks like he might go, but
he's got that hip. He hasn't played in a while. I mean, Jesus, oblique. Saddle up already. I mean, take a needle, do something.
The hip and the oblique, too good, not good.
Yeah,
that's difficult. What do you think of this one?
Well, I'll tell you, Shanahan historically has owned McVay, but that all turned around early in the year when the Rams came back from that deficit and ended up winning that game 27-24 earlier in the year. The trends say over. The last 5 times they played, it's gone over the total 4-1. So I think it's a high scoring game. I know Rams play a lot of zone. Purdy carves up the zone. So I think Purdy has a good night. They're really bad at covering tight ends. Kittle will score. The problem is the Rams offense is on fire, right? Rams are 6-1 in their last 7 straight up. They're playing good football. They had like track meet game last week with Buffalo. I'm wondering if it taxes them a little, takes a little out of them maybe in this game. Fatigue wise, I mean, it's hard to keep up with Buffalo for 60 minutes like that, but they did it and they outlasted them. San Fran's 9-3 in their last 12 in the series and 4-1 straight up at home versus the Rams. So, I like San Fran. I mean, I got 2.5. If it's 3 at some sites, I'm not as loving with it, but I would take San Fran in the over and go with the trends. The Rams are 4-10-2 against the spread in their last 16 as road dogs. So they don't really play well on the spot. And they don't normally play well in San Fran. So, they're a hot team. I get it. I love their offense. Mikey, my stepdad, big Ram fan. When he hears this, he's going to be mad at me for not taking the Rams, but I'm going to take San Fran and lay the 2.5.
My whole thing with this game was last week just sort of like a last gasp for 49ers against a horrible team in a must-win situation. And we look at the bigger picture of how they've really been playing since the break, and also the recent trend of negativity with them and all the injuries. I just kind of feel like if we get on San Fran tonight, that's not the hot team. The Rams are the hot team.
Rams are hot. They're 6-1 in their last 7. They're playing very well, other than the loss at home to Miami, where that Miami defense somehow rose up and came out of nowhere. I mean, they're awful. I don't know how they did that night, but yeah, I agree with you. Listen, Stafford has struggled against San Fran historically. I don't think he's going to throw for 300 yards. I do think they will have some success with Kyren Williams. Puka Nacua is pretty much unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to score. I don't know. I just don't love their defense. I know Trent Williams is out, so that's a real negative for San Fran. I used that in my handicap last week. Look where it got me. Nowhere. So I'm going to ride the trends. I don't think we have to pick it if you're not, it's a close game. It's a 2.5 point line, but I'm in for San Fran, and the over is what I took.
Okay. I like the Rams in this spot. I'm not buying into, I regret not taking them last week. I thought it was a perfect spot, but I was with you. I like the Bears. I thought they were done also. They're obviously not. And I can see them being competitive in this game, but I'd rather go with the hot hand here. I like the Rams.
Okay. Listen, for the record, I did text you and say the Rams were on our list last week. We just chose not to go with them. I mean, I was fine with taking them because the line moved in our direction. We actually were getting 4.5 at home and went to 3.5.
Well,
so
we did take the Rams.
Oh, we did. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay.
That was our only win.
Okay. Good. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we disagree on this one. My feeling is, listen, San Fran 6-7, the Rams are 7-6. Everyone's chasing 8-5 Seattle, right? So both these teams need this game.
Yeah.
It'll really muddle it up if San Fran wins.
Yeah.
Because that'll bring the Cardinals back into it.
That's right. and we'll talk about that later. But that's a game
Yeah.
that I really, really like.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay, let's move on to a yawner. I don't even know if we need to really talk about that much, but Baltimore is in our 6 Mile Stadium from me. New York Giants at MetLife.
It's a huge number, Jack. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this. I mean,
by the way, there's a ton of CLV in the contest. It's 14.5. Market's up to 16 on this game.
Yeah, 16.5 I saw.
I mean, I know I saw DeVito starting. Lock is hurt. Baltimore's coming off a much needed rest. I mean, I'm not interested in laying this big of a number, but more importantly, like, I just don't know what you're going to get out of the Giants. But I would pass on this.
Well, I'll just give you one stat that I saw on NFL Network. Lamar Jackson is like 23-2-1 against the NFC in his career.
Yeah.
Both the two were the Giants.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I know one of them, he lost the game outright. Yeah. So it brings a little bit of pause here. Giants are an abysmal team. They should not, they're not good enough to win a game. I don't think they're, but weirder things have happened. Baltimore's off a bye, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the handicapper in me would take the Giants without even thinking about it.
Me too. 16.5 in the NFL is way too many points. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, I just, it's not like this isn't
professional football players.
Danny Sheridan, one of the great lines of all time. But we don't have the balls to take the Giants. And even if we did, we're trying not to take bad teams. So game's a skip for me, but I would be really leery out there for people like Brad, who's going to put Baltimore in every 14 teaser he can.
Yeah.
And it's still also be laying 3.5.
Right. And he may be dumb enough to put him in a money line part.
Oh, no, he will. Oh, 100%. This is his favorite game.
He may lay 8-1.
Yeah. He will.
1-8, basically.
Yeah, it's insane.
Okay. Let's move on to Jets Jags. Another pass for me. No interest in this game, although, I got to say the Jets
played well last week.
They did. I mean, we got very lucky. We got a push out of that, and that was it went to overtime. Their offense looked much better. I think they solved some problems on the offensive line at left tackle, actually. And I wouldn't be surprised if they actually put up some good offensive numbers again this week. But
are they laying points?
Huh? Yeah.
They're laying.
Yeah, they're stayed in Florida, laying 3.5 on the road.
Yeah, so here's just a couple stats and trends that I find interesting. First of all, not that we would bet this game because they're both bad teams, and we're done with that, especially after last week. I mean, we just can't do it anymore. But first of all, Mac Jones is 5-0 in his career straight up against the Jets, all with New England, but he's never lost to them. Number 2, Jags are 5-1 straight up against the Jets at home, so they win this matchup all the time. Mm-hmm. And the over is 5-1 in the last 6 times they've played. So I could see this being very similar to last week, right? A lot of points, back and forth, very little defense. The Jets defense has been horrible. Yeah. The most disappointing thing about the Jets, I think, obviously Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be a savior here, but most disappointing thing about the Jets to Jet fans has been the defense and their inability to get off the field and make big stops. So Mac Jones has played a little bit better. They got the win last week, right? In Tennessee. Did they win that game? I think they did.
Yeah, they did.
Right. So if I had a gun to my head and in the pick pool, I'm taking the Jaguars plus 3.5.
Okay. Let's move on to Washington Saints, another yawner. Derek Carr is out for the year.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yes.
Oh, on that play where he dove head first and landed on his shoulder popped out, right? Or something like that. Yeah, that was really awkward and stupid. Like, I didn't understand that. Like, he's diving for the first down, but he dove over his own player where there was an option to just dive low, like you're sliding into third and reach the ball and get the first down. Like, really, really dumb. So he went straight up in the air and landed like a fucking on his head and shoulder. And dislocated his own shoulder because he was too dumb to just dive low and get the first down. I mean, literally. I mean, it's just I don't know. I don't understand these guys. Stupid.
So the Saints have been very good at home this year.
Yes.
The problem is you got Jake Haener as the quarterback here, and Washington's laying
Wait,
7.5, which is much more than
I
I
thought
went
they
with.
had that Rattler guy.
No.
I thought it was Rattler is their backup. He's the guy who played for Derek Carr when he went out the first time.
Well, he's the third QB. It's Jake Haener.
Okay, never heard of him.
Yeah.
Washington off a bye.
I'm not interested in laying 7.5 on the road. I don't know what you're going to get out of New Orleans. It's too many. I mean, if anything, I guess it would be Washington, but it's just, are they a 7.5 point favorite?
Not the way they've been playing lately. Not the second half of the year. No, they're not. The one thing I would say the trends do support is like every time these teams have played in the past, it's been a high scoring game.
Yeah.
So the total's like 43. I mean, if this guy Haener does anything, you know that Washington's going to put up some points. I mean, I would think they would, with McLaurin in the dome, with Jaden. Jaden's been pretty good. I mean, they even put some points up even in these losses that they had. It's not like the offense was bad. It was the defense. So 7.5, I agree with you, is too many to lay. Let's lay off it. But if you're going to play it, I threw over 43 in a couple parlays just for fun.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking, and they're probably in a good teaser spot, but still, it's a road. Not interested. Next game is Cincy, Tennessee. Speaking of the Titans.
Yeah. I love this game. I don't know about you. I like Cincinnati a lot.
I do too. My only problem with it is that Bill Callahan and the Cincy coach, what's his name?
Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor. They're like best friends.
Oh, really? Are they?
Callahan, yeah, he came from Cincy. Like that was the offensive coordinator, and
wow,
there's a lot of cross pollination in these coaching staffs, and that was what gave me pause. Was that they're really like best friends, like they text each other, after games. And I'm concerned that he wouldn't put the pedal to the metal on him. Even though Cincy is very much not eliminated from this playoff picture where Tennessee is, something about this. And I like I said a couple of weeks ago, I can't get Tennessee right. Last week, the latest example. And I don't feel like, first of all, Cincinnati, their defense is still terrible.
Yep.
They were the beneficiary of, I don't know if that's the bad beat of the year, but it's going to qualify. I mean, Dallas blocked a punt.
The punt, and the guy touched it. Yeah.
Lost
Horrible.
by a touchdown.
Yeah, the Leon Lett thing. It's disaster. I mean, the guy, my partner, Eddie Wells at work, he's been a Cowboy fan his whole life. For years, he's been telling me the Cowboys are so bad on special teams. Every time the other team punts or kicks off, I wish that my team would just run off the field and let the ball land. Yeah. That's what he goes. Every time we get called, we have a penalty, we fumble it, we do something stupid. I'd rather just take the ball where it lies every time.
I don't remember seeing that in the NFL anyway, of a guy blocking a punt and then someone touching it.
And also, he wasn't like, it's one thing if you're like open, there's no one around you. There were like 3 guys running right at him. Like, what? Yeah. Why would you feel compelled to touch that ball and try and catch it and run? You're just going to, if you catch it, you're going to get absolutely lambasted like instantly. Why do it? I don't get it.
Right.
That's just bad coaching. I mean, that's got to be on. Change the game. Lost the game for them. And Micah Parsons.
There is nothing to gain by touching that.
Did you see Micah Parsons after the game?
No.
He walked off the field by himself.
What, before it was over?
Yeah.
Wow.
And was despondent. He couldn't believe that they lost that game. Now he knows the season's over. They've pretty much been mathematically eliminated. But back to this game, Cincinnati, that was a big game for them. Cincinnati's alive in this playoff thing, as bad as they've been.
Yeah, I know.
And Tennessee's a doormat. Cincinnati's 6-1 and they're against the spread in their last 7 against Tennessee. They're also 6-1 against the spread on the road in their last 7 games. Yeah. I like Cincinnati in this spot laying less than a touchdown. I think this could be 30-something to 20, like 30-something to 17. I don't know. I think Cincinnati's defense might be a little inspired by the fact that they're actually alive here. Burrow's been amazing. Jamar Chase is incredible. They still have Higgins. Gesicki's fine, and the kid can run, Chase Brown. So I like Cincinnati here. I really want to get you with me on them because I think this could be one of our easier picks of the week.
Okay, I'm on board. I like everything that you just said,
Okay.
and I can't get Tennessee right, and maybe, I was actually inclined to take them. Which, if you're right and I'm wrong again,
Mm,
then I think it's, and again it plays into, us. I still believe Cincy's much better than their record, and I do consider them a
I do
contender.
too. Reed kind of makes fun of me for saying that all the time, but you know what? Joe Burrow's playing, I think, at an MVP level. His numbers are off the charts. Jamar Chase is the leading receiver in football, and Hendrickson leads the league in sacks, and they have a losing record. I
Yeah.
don't know. Remember the last time that could have happened, but that's what's happening to Cincinnati.
Okay, I'm with you. Miami, Houston. Uh, this is an ugly game as far as I'm concerned.
Really? I think
Yeah,
it's
because
entertaining
well, I think I'm just so disappointed in both of these
with
teams.
Houston and in
Yeah, with
particular.
both of
I
them.
know.
With both of them, I've lost
Penalties
money
on
on both of
Houston
them.
drives you crazy. I know it always drives you crazy. They're so undisciplined.
Yeah, and I'm inclined. When I saw this, I was inclined to just be like, "Oh, this is a great line for Houston because they're coming off a bye.
Yes.
Hopefully, they got a lot of things, sorted out." And you're laying less than a field goal here. Actually, there's a little bit of CLV for us already because the market's at 3 and we have to only lay 2.5 if we like Houston. And Miami's defense is terrible. So you would think this is like an easy win for Houston coming off a bye and they're totally healthy. And yet I don't trust them. I don't trust them. And so
Okay.
I'm not gonna I don't like I'm kind of done with Houston, to be honest with you. And yet on the flip side, I couldn't be talked into Miami after what they did last week against the Jets, after what they did in Buffalo. It's like they've had one good game in the last month that I
The
consider
Rams, the Ram game,
impressive, and it's
the
the
Ram
Rams.
game. That
The
was it.
rest, I don't care if they blew out, the Raiders or the New England. Like none of that
Yeah.
matters. This is a
So
real
Jack,
game, and I don't know who's going to show up.
so let me I appreciate everything you just said about both these teams because they've been frustrating all year for both of us to be betting on. And I have CJ Stroud as my backup quarterback in fantasy. He's been horrible, but
Mhm.
that's beside the point. The first thing that I have to tell you is the Mush loves Miami.
Okay.
He made it a point to me in the one game he brought up to me was I love Miami. So
Wow.
right there, that's caution to people that are thinking about loading up on the Dolphins.
Mhm.
2.5 to us, I think, is a great line. Houston is 5-0 straight up in their last 5 against Miami.
Okay.
They're 6-2 straight up in their last 8 at home. Now, Miami is playing well. Their last 5 games, they are 5-1. I know they didn't cover for us last week, but they're still 5-1, 4-1 straight up. Interestingly enough, all their games on the road have been low scoring. So it's like their defense, for some reason, shows up on the road and they don't show up at home, which is kind of
Yeah.
weird. I would be inclined to take Houston, being that we're laying less than a field goal
Yeah.
and we're off a bye. And I think D'Amico is going to have these guys ready. I mean, Nico Collins has to be healthy. Tank Dell is still there. I know they lost Diggs, but I think CJ's got to say, hey, this is it for us. Like we got to pick it up. And Miami's defense has not been great. I know they've been better on the road, but
But
I
the problem,
understand.
Cello, is,
Yeah, it's
believe it or
tough.
not, the problem is actually Houston's defense. Like if they
Yeah.
can get shredded by Tennessee, like what are these guys going to do to them?
Yeah, Waddle and Hill, right?
Oh, so I'm
Scary.
not. I as much as I'm inclined to take Houston here, I don't want to do it.
Okay, that's fine. The trends suggest Houston and the under. So
Okay.
I'm going to say.
But you like them though.
I would take Houston off a bye and give CJ one more chance.
Okay. Let's keep that in the back of our minds. Next one is Browns are hosting the Chiefs. This is crazy that the Cleveland has been taking money all week long. This line came out at 6. It's like 4.5 in the contest, and its market is 4.
Yes.
Why are people betting on Cleveland?
2 reasons. Number 1, Kansas City already clinched. Number 2, I think is
They want home field advantage.
I understand. I get it. Kansas City, I think, has had a hard time convincingly winning games. I don't have to tell you, every game comes down to the end. So if you're getting 4.5, obviously 6 was too many. The market knew that. It took it down to 4.5. That's a good number for us. I would take Cleveland, We're not betting on bad teams, so we're not going to take them. But I think there's a reason. I also think last night on NFL Network, I think they misspoke. They said this is the third game in 11 days for Kansas City. But then I spoke to Brad about it, and he looked at the schedule and said, no, that's wrong. They played Black Friday. They played the following Sunday, and then this Sunday. So that's not necessarily 11 days, right? That's like 16 days.
No, didn't they have a Monday night game?
Right. They did, right? Against who? The Chargers?
Right. Last Monday night.
Right. So that's probably has nothing to do with it. I know Cleveland's been playing a lot better. Jameis is feast or famine. The guy's amazing. Like he's very capable. But it doesn't matter for us, right? We're not betting on bad teams. But if I'm not laying the points with Kansas City. I don't love it.
And we're not going to take Cleveland because of Jameis. And Jameis, I love him, but I'll tell you what about Jameis. If people did not love him, he would be like the laughing stock of the league because all he does is turn it over. And
he throws touchdowns and he throws interceptions, and that's Jameis Williams. That's Jameis in a fucking nutshell right there, And he has great pregame speeches, and he's a wonderful person to listen to speak, and he's got a great heart, and he's a good, he's a good dude. Like you root for him because he's a good guy. And if you know anything about his upbringing and how like he came literally from nothing, like he lived in a fucking shack with 3 other kids. And like, it's amazing that he's made it where he is. And I have all the respect in the world for him. But that said, here's a couple interesting trends. I found this amazing. Do you know that Kansas City is 18-1 in their last 19 games?
Wow. I knew it. Yeah. I mean, yes.
I mean, in the NFL, are you kidding me? That's insane.
Yeah.
They're 5-0 straight up versus Cleveland the last 5 times they've played. However, Cleveland's 5-1 against the spread against Kansas City in the last 6 games. So these games are never blown out. And I think that's why the line has come down. I think this is a 3-point game.
Yeah. And from everything that we've seen the last few weeks with these barely wins, I think they won 2 weeks in a row. They won the final score was 19-17.
Yes.
They had that Charger game so well in hand, and I'm so pissed because I was staring at a 10.5 live line on the Chargers. Wow. And I had this feeling that, with the field goals and they weren't pulling away, that it was just one play away from being a 1-score game. And then it happened and I missed it.
Yeah. My mistake was I bet the money line at the half, Charger money line. And when they got down there in the red zone, they had that penalty and it pushed them back and they had to settle for 3. And I said to myself,
why do you always bet the money line in those? Like, that's such a.
I really, really, really thought the Chargers could win that game. Like I thought they were getting Kansas City at the right time to pick them off. I really thought everything was going to go well for them. In the second half, they did everything right. They made the adjustments. They took the lead with the field goal. And I said to myself, I lost.
Yeah.
As soon as he kicked the field goal, even though I had the lead, I said, I lost this bet right there. Cause I knew what Kansas City does. And Andy Reid, you got him credit to go for that and to fucking not give the ball back to them. It's very Dan Campbellish.
I know
what he did at the end of that game.
They've had a walk-off field goal this year 3 times from 3 different kickers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That crazy kid, Matt Wright, Douglas reminded me, was our kicker when Boswell was hurt.
Oh, really?
And he was good for us. Better than your guy, Hopkins, who's been horrible.
Oh, my God. I don't know how he goes out on the field.
How does he have a job?
I don't know. We must not have anyone else, clearly.
You can't. I mean, and it's really weird because last year I thought he was very good.
Oh, he was great.
He was great. Yeah. Kickers are weird, right? Year to year is different. Can't fucking explain it.
Let's move on. Dallas is an underdog to the Carolina Panthers. That's where this season has come. And I got to say, I like Carolina in this game. They have not given up. They are surging since the break.
Yep.
They're feeling good about themselves.
Yes.
Is this team like never goes on the road? They were at home for like 3 months and then they finally went on the road last week. Now they're home again. I can't believe that. But either way, I think what happened to Dallas and with that black punt, I mean, with the block punt,
Oh,
and what you just said about who was that? Who's walking
Micah
off?
Parsons
Micah
walked off the
Parsons,
field and was despondent after the
um,
game.
Overshawn going out for the year. I mean, that's just devastating. They are, if you want to talk about done, it's gotta be them. They have got to be completely checked out. I
100%.
don't
In my
think,
in my pick pool, I'm taking Carolina, but they're a 2-win team, and we're not betting them. So let's just move on. We're not taking them in this contest. No way.
but look, and not that we have any chance of finishing in the money, but if we were like coming down the stretch and it's like a strategy thing, like you have to start picking teams that you think other people in the contest are not going to take.
Correct.
And so there is something to be said for that. But I think it's at that point of the season, and our record is what it is, that we have to do something different. And I would take Carolina in this.
2.5.
1.5.
Circle it. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
I like Carolina too. Dallas is dead to me. Dead as a doornail.
But I just, again, like, I think we really miscalculated saying San Francisco was done last week. Like we based it purely on how they've
Injuries.
That
based on injuries.
How they've been playing, but just like we lost sight of the big picture, which was that they're not eliminated and that they were coming home. And it just, you know what I mean? Like Dallas cannot make the playoffs. No. And they're coming off a devastating loss at home. I can't, in any scenario, I can't imagine them like getting up for this game. And especially against a team who feels great about themselves.
Is trying to play good football to turn it. Like Carolina could be that team I talked about earlier on a pod where you get these late season bad teams that try to build momentum and get better at the end of the year going into next year. Yeah. And whatever it does to their draft pick, it doesn't really matter here because they don't need a quarterback. If they can get this Bryce Young kid figured out to play well at the end, they have their quarterback already under contract for no money for another 3 years. So that's their goal. I agree with you. Listen, put Carolina down. We'll take them. I mean, we're out of the contest anyway. Let's do it.
Cards. 6.5 is our line. The market has taken New England. I absolutely love Arizona in this spot. Based, you said it earlier, which is if San Francisco wins tonight, NFC West is right back to being wide open. They cannot beat Seattle, and there's no shame in that. Seattle's a very good team right now. They're hot. Their defense is playing incredible. It's a shame what happened last week, but you got to get over it and keep playing. And who better to play than one of the worst teams in the league with the weakest schedule? And by the way, I looked up the strength of schedule. Do you know who's number one? Arizona. They've had the hardest schedule. They've played the hardest schedule in the league this year, and New England's played the easiest. And they're coming in here. I think they're going to get absolutely blown out. I love Arizona.
Wow. Arizona hasn't won a game in weeks. I mean, they've lost their last 3 games. They lost 2 to Seattle. They lost 1 to Minnesota. Kyler Murray's look like garbage to me. They don't get the ball to Harrison.
Can you fathom
New England is 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 against Arizona and 5-0 straight up against Arizona. They beat Arizona all the time. Drake May, I think, is playing well. New England, I mean, they're another team like Carolina, right? They got their quarterback. They're trying to get better as the year goes on. And Arizona's probably like, we're done. Like, I mean, we had our chance. Like, there was a time where Arizona was in first place in that division. They haven't won a game since. They're 0-4. So I
can't picture a better get right spot than this game against this team.
Wow.
But that's my opinion.
All right. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I mean, I have a bad taste in my mouth about Arizona. I don't think they've been playing very well.
They hurt us last week.
And New England, I got to tell you, New England's been, I mean, I understand they've had some clunkers, but Drake May, for the most part, has shown himself to be a pretty good quarterback, I think, young quarterback. And I think they're coming off a bye. And I don't know. I mean, they're a team that could surprise you. I'm saying. I mean, I don't know. I don't love Arizona enough like you. I don't have the conviction you have.
Do you know who the number one team in the NFL against the pass since the break is?
Minnesota
Arizona.
against the pass.
Yeah.
Huh.
According to DVOA. I mean, again, it's all about giving them a pass on what happened last week and recognizing that they're still a top team. And if they blow it again here, then you know what?
What is it, 6.5?
I'll eat my hat.
Is it 6.5?
Yeah.
All right. Listen, we don't have 5 games anyway, so just put them in.
We'll see. Keep it.
No. Listen, you feel really good about it, and I have no opinion on it. And if you're that strongly feeling about it, then let's take it. I'm with you.
I kind of feel like strategically, maybe, and we, it's kind of rolls into next year, but maybe we should be able to have, one of us just put a stake in the ground and say, this is my game of the week and we're taking it.
Okay.
I would have done it last week with Minnesota. I would have just been like, y'all, I absolutely love Minnesota.
Yeah.
There's no way Cousins is winning this game.
By the way,
yeah,
it's funny because I was at a hockey tournament this past weekend playing with a bunch of kids half my age, and we neither here nor there. We made it to the semifinals. It was great, whatever. So last night I find myself sipping Willet bourbon on my couch, and I put on NFL Network, and I watched the Atlanta Minnesota game.
I heard you texting me. You were like, "What is this guy doing?"
And I had, because I loved Atlanta. I loved Kirk Cousins. And I'm like, he's going to be in this game. It was 21-all going into the fourth quarter. Sam Darnold, I don't know if you watch the game, so you know, Sam Darnold was about to get sacked. He escaped the pocket.
I know. He played
the
great.
The cornerback got lost, and he threw a deep one to Jefferson for a touchdown. The ensuing kickoff, Ray McLeod fumbled, and they gave it to him on the 25-yard line, and 3 plays later, they were in. Addison, touchdown. Game over.
Up by 14.
Yeah. And that's how quickly it turned. So, and then Cousins did throw a late pick. Cousins threw a late pick. Yes, he did. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, you were right about Minnesota. I was wrong. But for Cousins, I mean, they were really in that game until the start of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So sick.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. All right, let's move on. I love the Cards. We'll see on that.
All right, listen, circle it, put it in. I'm fine with you.
Yeah. Bucks Chargers. I don't really have an opinion on this one, a strong one, anyways.
What's the line? What's our line?
3, 2.5 is our line. Market's already at 3 here. I just think this one's I lean Chargers here.
Yeah, because it's under 3
against Baker.
I don't either. I think it's going to be high scoring, though. I mean, these teams, the trends tell you that when these teams play, it's high scoring in the past. Yeah. That I know the Chargers are a different team now. I know Ladd McConkey has the bad knee. He may not play again, which is, a real loss for them. And they lost Dobbins, so they have no Dobbins. So they have Gus Edwards, who's capable. Listen, there's nothing wrong with Gus Edwards. He's been fine. The backup running back is okay. He's a young kid with a V. Vidal, I think is his name, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and Quentin Johnson is starting to catch the ball, and they have Disley, who they lost last week, actually. He's out, right? So that sucks.
He's doubtful. McConkey's questionable. Herbert's questionable.
He re-injured that ankle. Yeah. I think this is a skip for us. I mean, listen, I don't want to root against Baker. I like the Chargers. If I had to bet it, if it's 2.5, I'm taking the Chargers.
Okay.
Because it's less than a field goal. They're at home. And the Chargers are a good football team.
I agree.
I got them a little bit wrong earlier in the year. I thought it was going to take Harbaugh a little more time to turn this thing around. But let me tell you, he has them playing really smart, good football. He has Herbert not turning the ball over, which is amazing to me because Herbert last year had a little Jameis in him. He was gunslinging and throwing it and turning it all over. With Harbaugh, he won't let him turn it over. So it's been a much better approach.
This was your version of you had so much conviction last week in
the
game.
Yeah.
Started right away when I started building up the Chiefs.
God, I love them with the points.
And
our line was right. better.
And they are a good team, and we should have picked them over someone like the Bears or the Titans.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
Foolishly, believing that the Chiefs, could score. Meanwhile, they were up 14-0.
Yeah, I know. It was a halftime adjustment thing. And by the way, you got to give the Chargers defense a little credit because that game could have been way worse than 14-0.
Yeah.
You know, the Chiefs had other chances, and the Chargers defense stepped up and forced some punts and had a turnover a couple times and some big sacks of Mahomes too. So that kept that game. They kept them in it. But you know, listen, this game we're not going to bet. I love Baker too. Historically, this game's a shootout type of high scoring game. What is the total on this game? I don't even know. I think it's in the mid 40s, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me see.
46 maybe.
It's 46.
Yeah, I figured so. Yeah, so that's a weird number. So this game is a complete skip for me. It's too hard to call.
I lean Chargers also. I don't know if it'll come down to it, but yeah.
If it does, and we have 2.5, I would take the Chargers with 2.5.
Okay. All right, let's keep an eye on that one. Game of the week: Bills, Lions. Buffalo's getting 1.5 here. Market is 2. I think it's too close to call, but I lean Buffalo. What do you think?
I do too.
Yeah.
I have a bet in with the Buffalo money line.
Okay.
But I'll say this, a couple trend things. I don't know if it matters. The last 5 times they've played, it's gone under the number. I think the whole country is probably expecting a shootout. Yeah. So the real public money is going to be on over. Mm-hmm. I think a smart, savvy bettor probably goes under here. I think it's 49 or is it 49?
It's 54.
54, yeah. So, I mean, man, but normally when the number's that high, it goes over, right? So maybe the trends don't matter here, but I would be inclined. Buffalo's 7-1 their last 8. Detroit's 5-0 in their last 5. Can't get better teams. I mean, these are great teams. You know, this could be a Super Bowl matchup. A lot of people think it could be, and it wouldn't shock me if it was. I'm inclined.
One thing I really like, from what I've seen with Buffalo, is the health of the roster. Like they're suddenly like much healthier than they were even in the Rams game.
Yeah.
Like Keon Coleman's back. Amari Cooper's back.
Yeah.
Cade is back. Knox is back.
They have a full roster. And Detroit's still a little depleted on defense, I'm sure.
Yeah, they are a little bit banged up in the deep secondary. Like Hamlin's questionable and Taylor Rapp is questionable. But I actually think both of those guys are going to play. But man, they're coming in very healthy.
Off a loss. Yeah, I like Buffalo. I think we should take them. Listen,
I also
it's very hard to bet against Detroit. It's very tough. Listen, they're on a streak. One thing I had an old friend of mine who used to tell me, listen, you don't fuck with streaks. Like you either bet with it or you don't bet against it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what you have with Detroit.
Yeah.
Like they don't lose.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like Kansas City. Like
I really like Buffalo in a teaser here. You can take them across 7. And you got to just assume they'll be in this game. Like Josh never goes away. They're healthy. I don't know. I think it's a fantastic teaser spot for them.
Are we getting 2.5?
Well, in the contest it's 1.5, but the market is 2.
Yeah. It's not really a Wong teaser because anything over 49 is not a Wong because it just throws off the math. But I do like what you're saying. Like, listen, if I think Buffalo can win, I mean, I certainly like them +8. I mean, how could you not?
Right. Okay.
100%. Yep.
Let's move on to Colts Broncos. It's 3.5. I think market is 4 on this game. My I don't know what you think, but my gut tells me this is a little bit too many for Denver to be laying. At the same time, I'm kind of nervous about taking the Colts. And then speaking of healthy, they're very healthy also.
Yeah. Pittman is Downs back?
Yes. Pittman back, Downs back.
I think the data on this that I read was kind of mixed, so I really have no opinion on the game. I could see this being a close game. I could see it going any way, but if you give me 4 points and I had to bet it, I would take the points.
Yeah.
I think the teams are that close.
I kind of see it similar to like the Cleveland game. And I think the Colts are better. Although, Richardson kind of reminds me of Jameis a little bit. He's definitely like boom or bust type.
Totally.
He can absolutely turn it over and also electrify, any game he's in. So I like the Colts, but I'm not ready to go to the window for them.
I wouldn't go to the window with them either. And I'll tell you, Richardson is exciting young player, has to learn so much about coverages and reads and all that stuff. He runs a lot. He takes a lot of hits. So he's like you're like one hit away every time you bet the Colts of seeing Flacco.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay. Steelers, Eagles. You want to go first? Your game?
Very simple. The Steelers are 0-10 in Philadelphia in the Super Bowl era. And listen, I'm a diehard Steeler fan. This is a game we never win, and we're not going to win it Sunday. 5 is an underlay. I think the Eagles are the easiest bet on the board.
Yeah.
Period. Done.
That's interesting trend data, but I also would add in, I heard just a lot of post week 8 data today. And I heard that the Pittsburgh Steelers are ranked 31st in the league against stopping the run since week 8. And
yeah, we do struggle. I mean, listen, our linebacker play hasn't been great.
And guess who you're playing?
Saquon.
A team that loves to run the ball. So everything on top of everything that you just said, the fact that it's a bad matchup for like what you're not good at least right now. I agree with you. I like Philly. I'm
going to be very tempted not to bet all of my units on my second team in Megabucks on Philadelphia. That's how much I know that my own team never wins this game. I'm not an idiot. I fucking know it. I've been to 2 of these games in my life. Neither one of them was close. One of them, I was so drunk in the 4th quarter that Jerome Bettis finally scored a touchdown, and I didn't even know he scored. I was so disgusted and drunk that he scored. We were down like 33-3 or whatever the fucking score was. And I just didn't even know he scored, and we got blown out, and I was with the Murph.
Well, you know what? I'm proud of you. You know your team, and
I know my team.
You've come a long way. Like you would never bet against your team, but you know what? I think this year there's been a few spots where you've taken advantage of just how well you know you guys, and it's not personal. It's business.
100%. I told you even that the other time was in Cleveland when I knew it. I said, when we beat the Ravens, we never win the next week. It's a short week. Cleveland's got us, and they're a division game we're going to lose. And I said it, and I knew it, and I bet it. And I'm telling you, I'm betting Philadelphia this week against my own team.
Well, that's the difference, is that you usually wouldn't bet it. You would just stay off, and now you're taking advantage.
Now I'm betting it. Okay. One other thing that I'm a little nervous about, just about the rest of our season, is, and I got to give Tomlin and Russell Wilson all the credit in the world on this, the fact that we already have 10 wins going into this gauntlet. We might not win another game. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. And
we have Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Kansas City coming up after this. We might not win another game.
Yeah, and that would be okay.
We'd be 10-7.
When I looked at the strength of schedule stuff for that other game we were talking about earlier, I forget which team. I looked at the rankings, and Pittsburgh is last. They have had the easiest schedule in the league through week 14.
It's so weird because when the season started, everyone looked at the schedule and said they had the hardest, most unlucky schedule because the back 8 games were so difficult. We happened to win. We had to happen to beat Baltimore and Cincinnati happened to, we caught them at the right time where they weren't great, but still, we still have Philadelphia loss, Cincinnati again playing great football, Baltimore again looking for revenge, and Kansas City at home at Christmas literally could be 0-4. So we knew we needed to take advantage of the first 8 games, and to give Tomlin credit, we did. We have 10 wins right now. And I'll tell you, we could lose this week to Philly, and we will. We will lose this week to Philly. If the Colts lose and Miami loses, we clinch a playoff spot.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a testament to why you have to take advantage of your schedule early against bad teams. And I got to give Tomlin credit because in years past, he would lose stupid games at home to bad teams. This year, he really didn't do it.
Yeah. Okay. Good perspective. Packers, Seattle, great game.
Yeah.
Packers are laying 2.5 on the road. It's a Sunday night game, I believe. We got a doubleheader Monday night, I think, but this is a great game.
This is so tough. Listen, the trends are really, really mixed here, Jack. I got to be honest with you. When I saw this line, I was like, oh my God, I love Green Bay. 2.5. But then you see Seattle is 5-1 straight up at home in their last 6 against Seattle. Mm-hmm. Against Green Bay. They find ways to beat Green Bay at home. I know there's been some miracle games and some crazy shit at the end of games. I think Russell Wilson was probably involved in some of those,
Yeah.
where he beat Aaron Rodgers a couple times. But Green Bay is 6-0-1 against the spread in their last 7 somehow against Seattle.
Wow.
So I would imagine that Green Bay's probably been underdogs a lot, and when they've been favored in Lambeau, they've been winning.
Yeah.
And 5-1 straight up.
Seattle's hot, obviously, and I'm inclined to take them in this game, but I think it's just too close to call, and I don't really want to get involved. I won't get involved with Green Bay. Like I'm still not a believer.
You're not a guy that likes Jordan Love, so you're not going to take them. But I will say,
I think their defense is really, really good.
Very good.
They're very good. You know, they impressed me. Look, they got the win with the spread. You know, you and I really did not agree in that Detroit Green Bay game, but they played fantastic.
They covered.
They used that half point to cover.
No doubt.
Dan Campbell goes for that crazy 4th down. They could have easily lost the game, but
they didn't. They won at the time and they win the game. I got it. And I covered that game. I was begging you to come with me because of the hook. I love the hook in that game. The hook was huge. And I was right on the hook with San Diego and I was wrong on it with the Bears. So to be fair, 2-1 doesn't always work.
I know.
The Bears got blown out. So, but I would be inclined to take Green Bay here -2.5. And I know I'm not going to get you there, but I can't get myself to Seattle in this spot. They're 8-5. I think they're a little paperish. You know, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't think they're a real 8-5. And I think that tonight's game is going to be really interesting I really think like if San Fran can win this game, you know, it makes everything interesting. But if the Rams win it and they go to 8-6, Seattle's got a lot of pressure on them, man, to win that game.
Yeah. No, I know. And they have a lot of pressure to win this game anyway. And I don't disagree with what you're saying about them being a little paperish. Look, I mean, they beat Arizona twice and they beat the Jets over the past 3 weeks. So it's
they were losing to the Jets.
What's their most impressive win of the year?
Seattle's?
Yeah.
I'd have to look back. I don't really remember, but
I'll tell you.
It's certainly not the Jets.
It's the week before the Jet game, they beat the 49ers. And they kind of that was putting them on the map.
Were they healthy? Did they have everybody? They didn't have Ayuk, obviously. No Ayuk. Did they have Bosa?
No, they weren't healthy.
Right.
But it was a fantastic win. Remember, Geno waltzed
into the end zone and won that game. Yes, I remember. I had San Francisco.
I feel like their defense is finally doing what Mike McDonald designed them to be doing.
Yeah.
So they're a very hot team. That's why I don't really want to go against them there. But I kind of agree with you that the Packers may be the right side. But again, it's just too close.
I'll tell you one thing. I know you don't play fantasy, and I do. So the main guy, one of the main 3 guys at CBS Sports, is this guy, Jeremy Eisenberg, who does weekly picks, and he comes out with starts and sits for the week. His bust of the week is Jordan Love.
Really?
Yeah.
He just thinks he's not going to penetrate.
I think Seattle's defense on the pass end has been better, and he thinks that Wicks is going to be. He also has Wicks as a sit.
Mm-hmm.
So. I mean, not Wicks, Reed, number 11. He has him as a sit at wide receiver. So he's thinking also that Seattle's defense has been playing a lot better. Jordan Love may struggle. And if that's the case, be careful laying points on the road in Seattle. But I'm okay with skipping the game. It's too close to call for me. So
okay,
I'm fine with it.
Bears, Vikings.
I mean, I can't believe I'm finally going to say this, Jack. We have to bet Minnesota.
Really?
We have to. Minnesota had a huge lead on them in Chicago. They came back. They didn't win it. They lost in overtime. The Bears they have shown themselves as done. Like last week, that effort and that performance that they put on in San Francisco against a wounded opponent like that is done. Minnesota is going to blow them out. Minnesota is 6-1 straight up versus the Bears in their last 7 games. Mm-hmm. What are they laying?
7.5.
Dude, this is 34-10.
Mm-hmm. The market is 7. I hate that hook. And
I would lay it. I have not been a Minnesota fan all year. You know me. I have not been. But this is one where it's a division game. The Bears, I don't think, have anything left to offer. I just don't think they have anything left. I think they've mailed it in. I think there's a lot of confusion in this franchise. They don't know who the head coach is. They don't know if they're keeping anybody. They're fucked up this Caleb thing. They're already messing with his head. And Minnesota, I mean, their record, I mean, they're not even considered as a top team, and they've lost like 3 games.
Let me put a different sort of perspective for you. The Bears mailed it in, didn't show up last week. Just too many NFC North games, and lost the coach. Just said fuck it, we can't play. It happened. Now
they fucking killed me. That I'm not over it as easily as you.
I know
that was a disaster.
They're back to playing another NFC North team. They're bread and butter, losing by 3 to another NFC North team. Why wouldn't that happen again? Why
not in Minnesota
for this game? And why wouldn't they kind of give like a very spirited effort like they have been to everybody else?
Not in Minnesota. I think Minnesota is going to take this one. I think that O'Connell's going to be like, listen, we almost let them off the hook last time. This time we got to go pedal to the metal and bury them. Yeah. And Justin Jefferson had not scored a touchdown in 2 months, which I am shocked by that. Yeah. I couldn't believe that when I heard that last night. I sat up I almost spilled my whiskey. I was like, what? And he scored 2 touchdowns last week. Let me tell you something. He's getting revved up for this playoff run. He's going to abuse them. Him and Addison are going to abuse Chicago.
Okay.
This week.
I'm not going to sit here and make a case for the Bears. I just wanted to offer that perspective that maybe that's, wouldn't shock me. I've seen crazier things happen this
If you don't love it, I'm fine with it. But if we need a 5th game, I'm totally down with Minnesota laying 7.5. I think they're going to win this game by double digits.
Okay. I mean, it would fit the profile. It would take a good team.
Totally. Great team. A great team.
Yeah. Let's last game of the week. And it happens to be a game that I like. It is.
You coming back? You coming back to Kirk?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, because
so am I.
Really, like you said, I mean, they were alive until late. They made a dumb mistake. But more importantly,
Aiden O'Connell's out.
That's right. And so we got I was very impressed with the Falcons defense in that game, especially their pass rush. Like
they played pretty well. They were all over Darnold, but he escaped at one time. Yep.
Darnold played incredible.
I know.
To get away from that rush. Like he really
did.
He had the game of the year. He had 375 yards and 4 touchdowns.
He was out of his mind. Played unbelievable.
And, you take that turnover away or the muffed punt. And and the one blown coverage. I mean, that could have very easily been a Minnesota cover, Atlanta cover.
Yes.
Now, fast forward to this week.
Of course, it wasn't because Cello had it. But go ahead.
Yeah. Now we've got basically Atlanta on the brink.
Yeah.
And this is a must-win game.
The Raiders are a bad team
against a terrible team with a 3rd-string quarterback.
What's the line?
Who are banged up. We only have to lay 4.5.
Done. I listen, the trends support it. I mean, Atlanta's 5-0 straight up in the last 5 against the Raiders. They win this matchup all the time. 4-1 against the Raiders on the road against the spread. So done. I'll take Atlanta. I'll lick my wounds from last week. I watched the game. They were right in that game till the 4th quarter, and they fumbled the kick, and that was it. So I'm with you. I think Atlanta. Here's the thing.
And the other thing about it, Cello, if they win this game and Tampa loses, they're right back in the NFC South.
That's what I was.
They're going to lose the head-to-head if they end up with the same record, which could very easily happen if you.
Well, they lost 2 to Tampa. No, they beat Tampa twice.
No,
they lost.
They lost.
The only team that Cousins has beaten is Tampa. He's only good against Tampa. He's beaten them twice.
Okay, so that's why they're
alive.
Those odds. But anyway, last week was not good. This is it. They have to win this game. And
Jack,
honestly,
I'm going to fucking bet them.
More importantly than them having to win this game is that they can very easily.
Yeah. You know what really upset me watching that game? And I actually, again, last night was alone late at night, drinking whiskey on my couch, watching a replay of a game from Sunday. But so let me just say that's, I don't know what that says about me, and it wasn't my team.
A lot.
And it wasn't my team, but I wanted to see how I lost my bets. So I watched it. But what I realized was this. Kirk Cousins made a pass in the fourth quarter to Kyle Pitts for 8 yards down the sideline. And the announcer said, that's Kyle Pitts' first catch of the game. And I got to tell you something. That is organizational negligence.
Yeah.
That guy is a superstar tight end. The fact that you're not throwing the ball to him 5 to 7, 8 times a game is unacceptable.
Yep.
Period. End of stop. You got to get the ball to him the way that the Raiders get the ball to Bowers, who, by the way, is probably the rookie of the year in the league.
Did it occur to you that maybe that was O'Connell's strategy?
Possibly could have been, but you know what? It's not like Drake London was lighting it up and Mooney was either. You know, I mean, I understand. Like Mooney, they did have 3 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson got in. He also got in a second time, and they called it back for a hold, and they had to kick a field goal. So again, with the penalties, you know, these things happen too. You know, everything adds up.
35-10 this game.
But man, you got to find a way to get the ball to Kyle Pitts. That's it. I mean, I'm sorry. Do something. Like spend some time and figure it out.
All right, so we got our eyes on Cincy.
Yes.
Carolina.
Yes.
Arizona.
Okay.
The Chargers. I'll include them in this list.
2.5. Yep.
We'll have to decide today.
Atlanta.
We did both agree on Buffalo.
Yes.
The Eagles.
Yes.
Minnesota
Definitely.
And Atlanta.
Wow, we got a lot of teams.
So that's 8 that we got to narrow down to 5. So
seems good enough to me.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes on the injuries. We'll sharpen our pencils, see if anything comes up. But that's a good list right there.
It's a great list. Let me ask you one thing about college football. I think you guys are in the game of the year, first round. Playing Tennessee at home, you're giving 7.5. Is that seems like too many to me?
It does to me also.
Ohio State. I mean, listen, this is the thing you have going for you: 28 degrees, snow, and wind. You got to root for that because Tennessee ain't gonna know what to do in that game. But with that, you know what I'm saying?
Well, we don't know what the weather is going to be, but
no, they do. I already looked. They already looked at the weather. I watched it last night. I watched the College Bowl show late night. It was on after I was watching it, and they said it's going to be about 28 degrees on that night. It's going to be cold.
Yeah,
Tennessee is not used to that. But what they did say, which I thought was interesting, is this: Tennessee's defensive line is littered with NFL prospects. And Ohio State's offensive line has been the weakness of their team the entire year.
Yeah.
So they like Tennessee in that matchup. The other thing they said was that the running back Sampson for Tennessee is very good.
Mm-hmm.
And in a cold weather game, if Tennessee can embrace the cold and the fact that they just need to run the ball and not try to throw it a lot and turn it over, like if Tennessee tries to throw the ball around the yard in that weather, and Ohio State has very good secondary. Very good. And that's how they're going to lose. But if they pound the rock and let their defense line do the work, they can win a low scoring game. They like them. They like them with the points.
How's Tennessee's secondary?
They didn't mention anything about their defense. Those were the things I took away from it. And it's 7.5. So I was inclined to think that Tennessee would try and run the ball and play decent defense and try and keep it a low scoring game and win it like kind of the way, I guess, kind of the way that game against Michigan went, you know, run the ball, kill the clock, keep it low scoring, and let your defensive line kind of rush and take control.
Total defense, Ohio State's first and Tennessee is 4th.
Ooh, really? Yeah.
They allow 278 a game, but I'm trying to get the
secondary.
The passing yards allowed. That's what I'm looking for.
For the Volunteers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's wait till next week to do our picks for the 4 games.
Okay.
And the playoff, and also some other bowl picks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we got our Cuse guys, the Holiday Bowl against Washington State. I think we're gonna put up a fucking number on them, 42. Like I like Cuse in the over.
And I think the big takeaway from the Michigan game for Coach Day and anybody on the Ohio State coaching staff should be, well, if you can't run the ball, you shouldn't. So if you're saying Tennessee's like got a very good run defense and a very good defensive line,
amazing. It's the best part of their team.
No one could believe that we just continue to run the ball into the line during that Michigan game when we have 3 NFL receivers on the field.
Right. So you want to bring in, you know what? You bring in a couple tight ends, you chip their ends, give you more time to throw the ball.
Just saying. You think it's a crime that Pitts didn't get the ball. Imagine like Jeremiah Smith, like Ibuka.
Disaster.
I mean, these guys are all going to go first, second round.
It's like having like Kupp and Nakua not throwing it to them.
I know.
It's insane.
Or like when when Tua was out for Miami, and Waddle and Hill weren't getting any passes.
You know what it's like?
I don't care who the fucking quarterback is. You got to throw the ball to those guys.
How about this? Also, game plan wise, very similar to last year. Baltimore against Kansas City. Baltimore led the league in rushing last year. You know what they did against Kansas City? They threw the ball 50 times.
Yeah.
They fucking all of a sudden tried to become a different team. They outsmarted themselves.
Well, you heard what his mom said, right?
Who? Lamar's?
Yeah.
No.
During the bye week, she said to him, "What are you doing? Why are you throwing the ball? So why aren't you running?
Right.
Run more."
So true.
And he said, "Okay, you're right, Mom. I have to run more. I am going to run more after the bye."
And this year, you're saying after the bye.
I mean, forget about Harbaugh. The guy's mom, who's been coaching him since he was 6, told him to run more. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I haven't been running enough."
Todd Monken or whatever his name is, Todd something Monken.
Yeah, Monken.
He fucking lost that game for Baltimore last year against Kansas City at home. He tried to be like this run and shoot team when he had the best rushing offense in football, and he just needed to pound it in there on them.
Mm-hmm.
And he changed the way they play, and they lost that game at home.
Oh,
what a disaster! You have to be who you are, dude. You know what? That's one thing I like about Rex Ryan, what he said. He goes, you know what? High expectations are fucking good. Mm-hmm. He goes, you want people to know that you're good at certain things, and then you be good and fucking ram it down their throats.
Yeah. Well, do you think that, by the way, does he have all his Buffalo future bets again for the 3rd year in a row?
He has some Buffalo. Him and I are aligned on a lot of things. We have a lot of teams. We got hurt with San Francisco early in the year. So we have some San Francisco action. The one thing we don't have, which is really going to end up hurting us, is Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
We do not have Philadelphia coming out. And I'll tell you what's going to happen. Buffalo is going to beat Detroit this weekend. Philly's not going to lose another game. They're going to get the number 1 seed. Detroit's going to have to go into Philly in the cold, and they're not going to win that game, dude.
You don't think?
No, I don't. I don't like golf in the cold on a grass field at night. No.
Well, why don't you bet some Philly now?
You're not going to get anything. They're plus 250 maybe at best.
Well, to win the NFC, but not
the
Super Bowl.
To win the NFC.
Yeah. Because I think that's worth making a bet. I'm going to make, I think I may bet on Philly to win the Super Bowl and also on Buffalo. Because Buffalo's 6-1.
I know. I have a Buffalo Detroit future. It's unbelievable. If that comes in, it'd be unreal.
And I think I think Philly really does have the best defense, and I don't think it's close. I don't think, like, when I watch Detroit play, when I watch the Rams,
when Detroit had Hutchinson and they were playing amazing, elite in the secondary. I mean, they had that.
They're good.
They had a couple guys that were intercepting the ball every week. I mean,
they're top 10. Don't get me wrong, but they're not like Philly. Philly is winning games. Like, they won that Baltimore game with their defense. Like,
listen, the Steelers, we're 7-1 in our last 8 against Baltimore. We own Baltimore. So the biggest future I have is Detroit, Pittsburgh. If that happens, I'm alive for like over $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah, big money. Now, I'm not saying we're good enough to get there.
Why?
I'll tell you this. Russell Wilson believes that we're good enough to get there. So does Mike Tomlin. Like, the goal has been all along to win a championship. So I know, listen, People
We
don't pay
have
attention to
the,
Pittsburgh. We're not really a real team. Our offense is this. We don't really have a great defense, blah, 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 blah. But you know something? If we get into that position, we have a quarterback that's won a Super Bowl. He's been to another. We have a great coach. We have a really good defense that travels with some really good all-pro players and some nice young players. You never know what can happen, right? So,
yeah.
and then we can run the ball. You know, at the end of the day, we have Najee and Jalen. We can run the ball. We have Pickens, and we have a good tight end. So we're weak. The other receivers are kind of weak, but you know,
And
who
you got to
knows?
clean up the run defense if that's true. That
Yeah. Well, we're getting this. Holcomb is coming back.
Oh,
He had the dislocated knee.
I love that guy.
He's fucking great. He might be available this week in Philly.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think he'll be there for the playoffs, which would be big for us to have him. He stops the run.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to send out invitations to the College Football Playoff League.
Can't wait for that. What's the entry on that? $100?
We'll give away $100.
Oh, is there an entry fee or is that free?
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking maybe to make it be an entry fee.
Why don't you do like $20? Have everyone pay $20.
$20
and see if we can get 100 people in there.
Yeah, and what I was gonna maybe I'll match it. Maybe I'll match the pot.
Whatever. If it's to see how many guys you get.
Do something like that. You know, hopefully we can get 50 people.
Well, you know you're gonna get me, Brad, Reed, you'll get every one of us.
Yep.
But we got to get this Megabucks South degenerates.
Yeah, we'll get people.
And right, Megabucks Philly has degenerates.
Of course. Thanks for tuning in. Good show, Cello. We got some picks to narrow down.
We do.
I'm excited about tonight's game. Tonight we got a good one.
We really do. Enjoy it. Everyone, don't bet too many units. But I will say, as a Steeler fan, I'm giving you this right now. You got to have some money on Philadelphia this week, guys. And I don't say that often about my own team, but there isn't a fucking shot in hell of winning this game.
Which means there is.
No, there isn't. Trust me. Trust me. I know my team really, really well. Let me just say it again. 0-10 in Philadelphia in the Super Bowl era. We've never won there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Battle of Pennsylvania. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you guys.
See you, bud.
Good work, Jack. Really nice.
Yeah, good show.